What's up, everybody? This is Anthony James. I've got another special edition of our Chop It Up Wednesday with Grindhouse podcast. I have with me today Luke Sherman. Luke is a national champion. We always put champions on the show. We gotta have all the champions, but it's not the champion that everybody going to say. Oh, we're doing football, we're doing basketball, we're doing racing. No, we are doing esports today, guys, and that's just as important, just as hardworking, just as the mental breakdown and things like that we have in all sports. So had Luke Sherman. He is a national champion in the junior college ranks in the spring of 2023 for Super Smash Bros. So Luke, man, say what's up to everybody, man.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on, Anthony. I appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you about esports. Been a strong passion of mine for a long time. Been something that's really popping up lately. A lot of people want to know more. A lot of people have been asking me about. I'm all here for it. I'm happy to talk about it.
Well, listen, I see. I grew up in the late '80s, early '90s. So when you say Super Smash Bros, of course, we are going Mario Brothers from my infancy. Probably a long time before you were even thought of as a young man. So my main thing, what was your introduction to video games? Let's just start there.
I do remember one of the first video games I ever played was probably Super Smash Bros. On the Wii.
Oh wow!
Of course, now we got Super Smash Bros. on the Nintendo Switch coming out or is out, and that's what I'm playing now. But probably when I was around 5 or so, that's when Super Smash Bros. On the Wii was coming out, and I got an older brother. He's about 10 years older than me. So he would have been 14, 15 in high school, playing video games with all of his friends. And of course, I want to do whatever my older brother and his friends are doing, right? So I'm like, let me play the game. Let me play. Teach me how to play with you. So he found an extra controller for me, and he taught me how to play Smash Bros. And I suppose I got a little obsessed with it, huh?
You fell in love there, and it's funny because he found an extra controller. He probably had the extra controller already. He just was like, "All right, you just wait. I'm busy right now." But
yeah.
So obviously you were playing Super Smash Bros. So what was some other games that your older brother was kind of playing, and it kind of got you like, I enjoy this, but I kind of So what were some of those other games that he was playing that got you in your infancy?
I remember a lot. We played these Lego games, and so it would be like Star Wars, but it's all the characters were like Legos and everything's made out of Lego. It was like Lego Star Wars and Lego Indiana Jones and Lego Harry Potter. I remember playing that with my brother a ton. We had a PlayStation 2. I remember playing games like Sly Cooper and some of those older PS2 games like that. I love playing Portal. It's like a puzzle game. But yeah, I do owe a lot to my brother, getting able to dig through his game collection and stuff like that as a kid. That's awesome. Really got me into it.
That's awesome. So how did esports come to pass for you? Obviously, esports is a growing phenomenon. I would never call it a trend because a trend is something that will eventually end. I feel like it's more of a phenomenon and something that's going to continue to grow. So how did esports become something that's become a part of your life early on?
Yeah, I'd say it probably really started in middle school or so. When I was in middle school, my brother was playing this game called League of Legends, and I asked him to show me that game, and I started looking up more and more about this game, and I found out they had these massive tournaments for it, like millions of dollars of prize money on the line.
Oh wow!
And they would fly out teams from all around the world to play in like an arena main stage. And the arena would fill up with fans, and they had the game on the Jumbotron, and people are jumping up and down screaming. And I'm watching all these videos of these professional tournaments, and I was just thinking, wow, like this is amazing. This is how I feel when I play games. This is how excited I get, and all these other people are getting super excited about it. And I just started looking up more stuff about these gaming tournaments, and I found tournaments for Super Smash Bros online, and I'd see all these, super good players fight against each other, and they're doing stuff in the games, all kinds of stuff I'd never seen before. I'm like, I need to learn how to do that.
Right.
So I had a group of friends. Probably around 12 or 13.
So middle school, starting around that age, thing.
Yeah, I was in middle school.
Make sure I get everybody's, that way we know we got a kind of a timeline. So about middle school, okay.
Yeah, I was in probably 7th grade or so, and I had a group of friends at school, and we all played Smash Bros together, and we started getting into all this esports and tournament stuff, and we would go over to each other's houses and we would draw up these brackets. I think we had we found some website we could draw up brackets online, and we would play against each other like it was a tournament all the time. So we started competing against each other, and we started really, because you don't want to get last place at the tournament. You start practicing on your own.
I gotta win.
Yeah, so I'm looking up all these YouTube videos about how to play, and I'm practicing on my own, and then we meet up and we play together, and we would compete all the time, and yeah, we ended up pushing each other pretty hard.
How many of you guys was it during that time frame?
I'd say about 8 or so of us could regularly get together and play like that. And so when we got into high school, we wanted to start a little club or something, right? So we found a teacher, Mr. Rakowskis, that would let us use his classroom after school so we could hook up Smash Bros on the projector and play in his classroom after school. And so we convinced him to let us do that, and we were just a club for probably about a year or so. We invited our friends. Some other people heard about it. They would come in. And eventually we started hearing hey, there's going to be this big high schooler. There's going to be a big tournament for high schoolers that play Smash Bros. And they're going to host it in Springfield, Illinois. I'm from Normal, Illinois, very central area. So there's going to be this high school tournament at Springfield, and all the best schools in the state are going to be there. And so we were calling him Mr. R. Mr. R, we got to go to this. And I don't know what he did, but he convinced the school to let us use an activity bus for a day.
Wow.
And we drove down to Springfield, and they had this big bracket pulled up of a bunch of other high schoolers who were really into this game. And my buddy Cam ended up winning the whole thing.
Wow.
So me and my friends, we had some decent results at the tournament. Our friend won the whole thing, and then I think Mr. R realized that maybe our team had some potential,
and it was a big deal too, because I think he can see it in the students that he has, that he's kind of taking an interest in, things like that. But seeing how big of a deal it was, probably, and do you know how many teams it was that was at this event?
I don't know the exact number of schools, but I think it was in the ballpark of 50 to 60 kids there.
Yeah, so I'm guessing when you can see that many people who are taking an interest in something, he probably seems like, you know what, let me help continue this and things like that. So I guess my next question is, do you feel like did you guys run into any challenges? Because obviously you had someone who kind of took a liking to it and helped you all through it. But did you guys run into any challenges with trying to get this off the ground or get this moving, especially with he convinced some people to have an activity bus? So any challenges there that you guys ran into?
Yeah, we definitely had some issues with the school. It's not every day you get a group of kids who's asking you to download a bunch of video games on the school computer labs and let them play after school with good intentions, we'll call it.
Yeah.
But so they were definitely, the school was definitely dubious about it at first, especially when we wanted to. We got people who heard about the Smash Bros Club, and they said, well, I don't really play Smash Bros, but I would love to compete in tournaments for for Rocket League or League of Legends or Overwatch or some of these other esports titles you might have heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
So those games are all on computers, and we really need to use the school computer labs if we wanted to play them at school. Right. One thing that shockingly might have actually helped us a bit with that was the COVID pandemic.
Okay.
The shutdown, because that happened at the end of my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
Which was right after that state tournament when we really started to take this whole Smash Club esports thing kind of seriously. Mm-hmm. So when the school was shut down, everyone was staying at home anyway.
Right.
And all the other sports and after school activities, they all got canceled because they couldn't meet up in person.
Yeah.
What was the one school activity that everyone could compete in online from home?
We can compete in esports. That's
yeah. So it was really interesting. We got such a wide variety of people who might have not done it normally, like baseball players at the school, and they joined in and they're like, "Hey, we want to do the Fortnite team. Right. We can't compete in baseball right now, so we got time for this. Mm-hmm. We want to, do the Fortnite team." And so we got a ton of people really interested in esports during that time. And, were successful in other online tournaments at that point for games like Rocket League and Overwatch and even Smash Bros. Yes. That by the time we started getting back to school, we had the club had a bit of a bigger proverbial stick to shake, right? We could say, hey, we have a large amount of an engaged student body that wants to do this school activity. Can we get some space? Can we get some time in the computer labs?
Mm-hmm. And they were able to give you guys that. That's nice, man. So what was the first tournament? Obviously you had the pandemic go on while you were in high school. So it probably took a while before you were able to kind of meet in person and do this. So what was your first large arena tournament that you were able to attend?
I think probably the strongest memory I have was some of the colleges in our town host these big Smash Bros tournaments. So I went to a tournament in high school at Illinois Wesleyan University, and they rented out the whole student center, right? And so this big open front room was filled with all these people coming in to play games, and they had these tables set up all over the room. So it'd be a table, 4 monitors at each table, 2 people sitting down at each monitor to play. Everyone shoulder to shoulder playing. They had a big main stage set up with a projector showing the matches. And, I'm not sure if that's necessarily the biggest tournament I've ever been to, but that was definitely the first time when I was, in high school, and I went to that tournament and I saw the energy in there and I saw the setup and I was like, okay, this is what it's all about.
This is big. This is like, you realize you're doing it, but when you realize it's big. So are there like fans there? Are there people watching? Are there it's crowds? Are there people there who are watching you guys play who aren't playing and things like that as well?
Right. There is to some level. Most of the time, the people who are there are mostly the folks who are competing in the tournament. But, you get so many people in there, you can't have everyone play at the same time. So they'll run in different rounds. So there are many times I'll go to a tournament. I'm in, round A of matches, and my friends are playing in round B of matches. So then I have time when I'm playing, they'll come over and watch me and cheer me on. And then when they're playing, I can go and watch them and cheer them on. Right. So you definitely have to kind of deal with some aspects of being in a crowded room, having people watching you. Sometimes it's the person you're playing against, all their friends are coming over to watch them, and now you gotta have that mental toughness to be able to perform when you're getting cheered against.
Right. So I guess I have another question where it comes to obviously you have your friend. Do you typically go into a room and know exactly who your competition is? Like, okay, I know that I know where I'm going to end up, but once I get to this round, this is where it's going to get tough. So you kind of go into a room and know who your competition is.
Yeah. One thing that helps is for the most part, most tournaments are pre-seeded, right?
Okay.
So they have a projected expectation of how you should do in the tournament. So you kind of get an idea of, okay, maybe I'll make it to this round, but you can also kind of compare yourself to the other people's matches you're watching, right?
Right.
I might be the 16 seed, so I'm gonna go watch the 17 seeds match and see if we're pretty evenly matched, or how they're doing in their tournament, and if we might have to play against each other at some point.
Right. So
And once you start going to enough tournaments, especially in the same area, you see all these 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds start to be the same faces. You get to know who you're playing against, especially at those higher levels.
You walk into a room and like, okay, here's I'm just gonna say a random name. Here's Doug. I know what he's gonna do. So let me make sure that I'm ready, because we've been playing against each other, and obviously, like I said, you're spending that practice time and things like that. So, how do you change your approach? Because again, it's just like with other sports and things like that, where you have certain players who have certain tendencies and things like that. So, how do you change your approach when it comes time to actually have these tournaments?
I think the biggest thing I do to prepare or to change my approach, I do a lot of film review, just like you do with any other sport, right? I was on the soccer team in high school. Before practice, we go in, we watch film of the other team. We'd say, here's their formation, here's how they set up. You gotta figure out how to play against it. And Super Smash Bros. is a game with 90 characters in it, and each character is going to play almost completely differently from each other. It's hard or almost impossible to have a super solid game plan going into 90 odd characters walking into a tournament. But if you can kind of see who you're facing up against, who the toughest opponents are going to be, you do have an easier time of being able to study those characters and figure out what that player's weaknesses are going to be, and how you can prepare for that.
Yeah, I see. My when I was playing with my son, I was horrible with everybody but Yoshi, so I just kept going.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stick here. Let me stick here till I learn how to play and things.
Gotta rock the dinosaur.
Exactly. So, who's your character that I know that everybody have a character of choice. Obviously, you're going into tournaments and things like that, and you probably play the game with a lot of the players, a lot of the characters. But who's your all right? This is my character that I'm going to win with this guy.
Yeah, it's funny in tournaments. We call it our main. That's our lingo. That's our main character. So my main is young Link.
Okay.
They got it's like Link from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
They got a version of him as an adult, and they got a version of him as a kid. I play the kid version.
You had the kid version.
So he's short, he's fast, he's got boomerangs and arrows. I can play close up, I can play far away. I like that he gives me a lot of options and a lot of ways to change up my game plans. Right. It helps me feel like I get control in how I play against opponents.
Okay. And how have you kind of mastered his style over time, though? What is it that with his style that just, obviously he has all the accessories, the things that you said, the arrows and all those things, boomerangs, things like that. But what was it that drew you to his style over, let's say, playing with Simon or something like that? Or,
right. I mean, there are a lot of characters that kind of have that long range style, want to throw out projectiles and cover up the space so that their opponents can't get in. I think the difference between Young Link and a lot of those characters, are kind of slow to make up for it, right?
Gotcha.
They stay at long range, but they're slow. Young Link is fast, so if I need to get up in a fight, I can really scrap with my opponents if I need to. And I think having that extra option and having the versatility of being able to slow down the game and play defense, or being able to speed up the game and play some intense offense and kind of go between those when I need to, it makes it hard to read, and it's really fun for me to play because I get total control over how I want to run the match.
Mm-hmm. So obviously national champion, and how many people were on your team during that spring 2023 season? Was it just yourself and a few other people? How many people were in the team during that time?
So they have for the junior college division, at least, they have a singles tournament that you might have for some, like, tennis or wrestling. Everyone competes individually, and they have a teams tournament. So I in the spring of 23 actually ended up winning the bracket for both singles and teams, which was an amazing experience. So it was teams of 3. So I played with 2 other guys for that tournament, but for the singles tournament, I was all on my own. I had to figure it out on my own, and I didn't have anyone else to pick up my slack.
Right.
Hi, I'm Shane with Restore Hyper Wellness right here in Murphy, Texas. I'm proud to say we're partners with Grindhouse Sports Training just next door in Wiley. Now, Coach Washington over at Grindhouse Sports Training has done a phenomenal job at not just building out a business in the community, being a pillar in the community, but also being an inspiration to the young, talented kids that he trains each and every day. Now, last year, Coach Washington started a podcast, a Grindhouse podcast. The links are below. I encourage each and every one of you to go check this out, listen to it, like it, enjoy it. Coach Washington will walk you through his personal experiences, what motivates him, what made him what he is today, and why he's so effective at being a phenomenal leader to these young, talented individuals. Check out the podcast. We'll see you soon.
So, so when it comes to your team, though, because obviously, you have all these people, probably different types of people, different types of play styles, things like that. What are the qualities of, like, potential players that will be good, or people who are just kind of doing it in their free time? Just, hey, I'm just just playing games. I'm not looking to be a part of a team. So, what are the things that you guys look for? The qualities you look for in a potential esports player?
Right. I think just like with most sports, one of the biggest things is that you got to be coachable, right? You see players, even really strong players, but they're very set in their game plan, and they're almost stubborn about it, right? They don't want to have to change up their play style when they fight new opponents. They don't want to have to try new things to improve their gameplay. And one of the biggest signs of a successful, or at least could be successful player, is their ability and their willingness to kind of learn new things and be open to new ideas, and not be so rigid or stubborn in their way of thinking. They can really pick up new matchups. Like I said, there's a lot of characters, a lot of matchups you gotta learn. They're able to pick up new matchups. They're able to pick up new play styles, and they're able to make the changes they need to in order to beat someone in a tournament.
Right. And obviously, like I said, my listener base, there's a lot of sports. It's sports, and so the main thing that I know that I want to make sure that the people that listen here that they know is the amount of physical endurance that it takes, especially for a long tournament and things like that, to make sure you keep your focus and things like that. So, how do you go about your routine, your balancing that physical endurance when you have a big tournament and things like that? So, how do you prepare to when you're getting ready for something like that?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because esports is not typically thought to be a very active thing. It really isn't a very active thing, but it does require that endurance and that stamina. You go out to a tournament, you travel out, you're going to be there all day. I always make sure on tournament days I eat a big breakfast, right? That's really important to me. I eat a big breakfast, and I always bring things that will kind of keep me entertained or keep my mind busy when I'm not playing, that aren't my phone. I try not to go on my phone too much at a tournament, because I'm spending I'm spending enough time looking at the screens already.
Yes.
You ever, work in the office or something, and you're looking at your computer all day, and you're just sitting, but by the end of the day, you're exhausted.
Exactly.
And you're worn out because your eyes get tired and your brain gets tired. So between rounds, I'll pack snacks. I'll bring a Rubik's Cube. I can mess around and solve with it. I'll bring, a book of Sudoku puzzles or something. Just anything I can kind of do that will keep me thinking and keep me focused without having to look at my phone and stare at screens and end up wearing out my eyes and my brain even more.
Right, I understand that. So, through all this, through your journey, because I know that we probably can do this for an hour, and I probably can go through everything. I'm not gonna keep you that long, but
right.
What's been the most rewarding thing when it comes to your esports journey so far?
I really felt strongly about winning the national championship in my time at Heartland Community College.
Okay,
I came in. And as a funny connection, our high school esports team became so successful in the high school leagues that when Heartland Community College was starting their esports program, they made sure to hire Coach R as their head coach, Mr. R, who was running our club.
Right.
So Coach R was at Heartland, and my senior year of high school, I went to the state tournament. I didn't end up winning it all, but I had a solid placement, and that was enough for Coach R to say, "Hey, we want to get you in at Heartland. We'll offer you a little bit of scholarship money to play on our team," which helped a lot. And I went onto their team, and I really felt like I had to prove myself. Because I knew I was a strong player, but clearly I wasn't even, the strongest in the state at my high school.
Yeah.
So I really felt like I had to prove myself because to some degree they were taking a chance on me. They wanted to bring me on and see how well I could do. So they run in the junior college league. They run 2 seasons, one in the fall and one in the spring. So in the fall season, I was playing really good. I felt like I was doing well, and I ended up finishing 3rd again. And I was getting frustrated placing 3rd at the high school tournaments and now placing 3rd at my first college tournament. And I said, when spring comes around, I'm really putting my nose to the grindstone. I'm making sure I figure this out. And it was just every day after class, I would go in, I would get some practice time. I'd make sure I'd rest and eat lunch and all that. But I'd practice on my own, and then I'd practice with my coach and with my team. And then I'd compete in the matches. And I was really getting into a flow with it. And practicing all the time, studying matches, figuring out what the best players in the world are doing, figuring out what I'm doing wrong. Trying to implement different styles into my gameplay, and it all came down to the final match. I was playing against a player from Blinn College in Texas.
Okay, right down the road here.
Right. So I was playing a really strong player from Blinn College. He had actually beaten me once earlier in the tournament, and so I got to rematch him in the finals. And the week of preparation leading up to that match, it was intense. I was, studying with my coach every night, trying to figure out what's the best game plan to beat this guy. What are some contingency game plans I can use as a backup instead? And I found this guy from Blinn. He played King DDD in the game. So I found the best King DDD player in Illinois. I said, "You got to help me practice this." Luckily I had talked to him. I'd played him at some tournaments, so we were kind of friends. And that's where, playing a lot of people and having those connections comes in handy.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, you got to help me practice this. And so I was able to practice against that character matchup. I was able to practice against his style of play. and I was really able to lock down my game plans. So then when that finals match came along, it was a really close match. It was best 3 out of 5 games, and I went down 0-2. So I felt like I was backed up in a corner, and I asked my coach, I was like, can I win with the game plan, or do I gotta do something else? And he said, you can win with the game plan. You just gotta stick with it. And so I trusted him, and I really bared down, and I trusted all my training and all my studying and all the practice and all the time I spent thinking about that match. And I was able to win 3 in a row to win the championship.
That's awesome.
And that was by far the most rewarding, moment in my career, I would say.
That's awesome, man. So I know that, like I said, we're about 30 minutes right now. So I'm gonna ask you one more question, because it's something that's always important to anyone that we ask, and we ask everyone that we interview this. So for young players looking to break into competitive esports, what's the advice that you would give them right now?
You just got to play. That's how me and my friends started. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but we got some guys together, going over to each other's houses, setting up tournaments in the basement. And that, more than anything, is what pushed us to grind, to push us to practice, learn everything about the game we could. And I credit that to, where I ended up today, and why I take it so seriously, and why I think it's great. I think it's really cool that a lot of schools are offering programs now for kids that want to get involved, even some community services. I work at the YMCA in town, and I run an after-school program where I teach kids about esports, kids in elementary school and middle school about esports, and how to play all these different games and how they can get involved at their school. And I think resources like that are really amazing at getting involved. But more than anything, you just got to start playing. You got to get involved somehow.
Yep. Gotta play. Luke, man, I want to thank you for educating us, giving us a little bit about esports and things like that. We got parents who probably complain about their kids being locked in the rooms all day and things like that, not knowing that this could be something that they just truly love, and it is a sport. There is endurance. There is a psychological thing that goes on with playing video games and things like that. And that's how I grew up. So I'll never get rid of telling someone, no, it's not a sport. Anything that has to do with your mind and your body, things like that, is definitely a sport. So I appreciate you coming on with us. You got anything coming up? Anything in the esports realm that's coming up that you want to put out here?
This spring, I'll be competing with Illinois State University's varsity Smash Bros team in the Missouri Valley Conference League.
All right.
The Missouri Valley Conference has added esports in the last year or so, and the Illinois State team won out in esports in all the games they offered last year. So follow up with Redbird Esports on Twitch. You can check out our live streams and see if we can keep up the good work this semester.
All right. Well, Luke, hopefully we get another national championship out of you.
Right.
You can check. We're gonna check back in with you after the season, so we can kind of see exactly how everything went when we next time we talk. All right.
Amazing. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for being on, Luke. And guys, we'll see you next time.